and welcome to Sarah's Stampin' Retreat. Today we're going to be creating 3 kind of folk floral type theme cards using this gorgeous Enchanted Garden die set from Spellbinders. It's a new die set and it's so pretty, and I've really loved playing with it because it creates really gorgeous florals, but also because they're quite small dies, I've actually managed to use up quite a lot of scraps. And I'm on a bit of a mission at the moment to use up some of my scrap cardstock because I just have so much of it and I need to get rid of some. So you can see all these scraps that I've used. I tend to get a lot of these kind of like lengths of scraps where I've cut a card blank or something and I've cut a piece off the side. So I've got a lot of those kind of long strips, and you can see these are like bits and pieces where I've literally die cut things and then I've just got these small little bits left. So I've managed to use up quite a lot of these scraps for this video, and you can see there's all sorts of different florals here and they can all layer together to make different things as well. So as an example, this little flower here is this piece with this one layered over the top, so that's the red and that's the pink. Then as another example, I've got these which we'll use later, and the bottom is this piece with this piece layered over the top, and then this flower is this piece with this piece layered on top of it and this piece layered on top of that. So you can see how they kind of all layer up to make different florals. So I've kind of mixed and matched the colours and mixed and matched the florals a bit. So you'll see as we go through, I've actually already pre-made a lot of these because it would just take too long to do it on camera. You can see I've got a lot. You can see all these bits and pieces here as well that I've got that we can use on things. I'm going to be using my Glimmer machine as well to create the sentiments, so we'll have a bit of a look at that as well. So the actual cards that we're going to be creating today are super simple, but the florals and the hot foiling I think are really going to make them pop and make them into something special. So this is a 3.5 by 8.5 inch black card blank, and then I've got this pink mat that measures 3 by 8 inches, and this black piece measures 2 3/4 by 7 3/4 inches. So I'm just going to layer those all together. And then I'm just going to glue on a bunch of these different flowers, and I'm just going to have them in a row along the bottom so it kind of looks like they're all growing in a line. And all of my flowers are kind of a bit non-uniform because I just, to save time, kind of die cut everything from one colour at one time. So obviously the leaves I've just used the 2 kind of greeny colours, but then the flowers I just cut a whole bunch, whatever dies I could fit on the piece of scrap I was using essentially. I would cut all at one time and then I'd move on and cut the next colour, and then I kind of mixed and matched them and just built them up. I just kind of sat for a little while and just kind of made them all in one go for all the cards. And then like I showed you before, I've still got kind of a few bits and pieces in my little plastic box which we're going to use for one of the cards we'll be making. So you can see like these pieces here, I paired those 2 together because I liked how they looked, but because one goes inside the other I just left them together. I couldn't glue them until I glued them to the card. So I think that looks really bright and cute now. So now I'm going to make my sentiment. So I don't want to take too much away from the card, so I'm going to use this teeny tiny happy birthday hot foil plate from this mini everyday sentiments set from Spellbinders, and I'm going to use my gold foil. So I'm going to cut a piece the right size to go on that, and then I'm going to grab a bit of black cardstock and I'm going to put my sentiment on over this piece of gold foil, and then I'm going to tape it down. And then I've already heated up my Glimmer machine, and I'm going to put this so that the plate is next to the machine. And then I'm going to press this timer. When that stops flashing, then it will be ready for me to put through my machine. So while we're waiting for that to do, these are the 2 plates that come with this to put through your machine, but I don't have the Spellbinders die cutting machine. I have a Big Shot Plus. So I use this plate and a white cardstock shim because that's what works for my machine. So I'll link below to my unboxing video for this machine, which shows how I worked out what shims I needed and also kind of like the basics of hot foil stamping, so that if you're not familiar with it, you can get an idea. But obviously, if you don't have this machine, you can still add your sentiment in any of the other ways you'd usually add it, with heat embossing or with stamping, but I'm choosing to use this today. So what I'm going to do now that this has gone solid is I'm just going to pull this out, and then I'm going to pop this on the top. Then I'm just going to run it through my die cutting machine. So then I'm going to pop that back in there so that it can heat up for the next card. And then I can take this off and see what we've got. And you can see that's foiled perfectly. And then this is a die that comes in the pack. So you get 3 dies of different lengths for the different sentiments that are in it. So I'm just going to die cut my sentiment with that. So now I have this really pretty shiny sentiment. And I'm actually just going to use one of these little foam adhesive strips from Stampin' Up! Just to add to the back of that because it's nice and thin for my sentiment. And then I'm just kind of trying to decide on the positioning. I think I like it best over the side. So there's the first of my cards, a really cute birthday card. So then for my second card, I've got a white card blank. So this is Nina Solar White £110 cardstock, and it measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. Then I've got this piece of blue cardstock that measures 3 3/4 by 5 inches. That's Pacific Point cardstock from Stampin' Up! And then this measures 3 inches by 4 3/4 inches, and again that's the Nina Solar White. Now I'm going to grab this box that's got leftover bits of die cuts that I've not used. It's got these kind of shapes that I've not used on for my other cards as well. So I've got bits like this that I've made up but not used, and then I've got bits like these ones that are shapes that I've not used on my other cards. I'm going to use on this one. I'm just going to create a background using them all. You can see I'm just keeping all the pieces from in the middle of these die cuts just in case I want to use them in a minute. And I'm trying to keep all the pieces from one die cut together so that I don't have to kind of sort through working out what goes with what. So I'm going to start gluing these pieces down. I think I have this 2-in-1 glue pen. I'm not sure if this is still made anymore because I've had this for ages. It's like a pump action. But if I can find it, then I'll link it below. Otherwise, there's a load of glue pens on the market. And then I'm going to fill in some of these areas with the bits that I've got around the outside. So I'm going to switch to my Tombow glue because I don't think my glue pen's working that well. And do you see how where I have added the stuff that I've got from the middle of the flowers into small piles around, then it's much easier for me to find the pieces I need to fill in the gaps. And obviously I'm mix and matching, so here I'm putting bits from the pink flower into the yellow flower so that I've got a bit of contrast. I think with this style of flower I'm not going to bother with the little circles, filling those in. I'm just going to fill in these kind of teardrop shapes in it. I'm not going to put the middle into these because I think that's probably going to be mostly covered by the sentiment panel anyway. So I'm just turning this over and just trimming any excess off the edges. And then I've got all these pieces that are from the inside of these bits of leaf. Can you see where there's dark green around the outside? It's the bits die cut out the middle of there. And so I'm just going to add a few little bits of glue across my card, and then I can add some of these leafy bits on. So now we've got this really cute background. I'm just going to trim the excess off again. And you can see there's very little left in there now, but I can save those for another card. So then I'm going to lay this onto here and pop it on my card front. Now I'm just going to use some foam tape just to pop up the panel onto my card front. So now I'm going to use this Happy Birthday from the Stylish Script Thank You and Happy Birthday hot foil plate. And I'm using the matte gold foil. I'm just going to take that down like that. And then my hot foil machine is heated up, so I can just turn it over and put it down. And then press my timer. You have to excuse it being upside down. It's upside down because of the length of the cable, because the cable comes out this end. So now that that's solid, I can run it through my die cutting machine. So then again, I'm going to pop this back in here so it can heat up again. They're ready for our next one. And then let's see what we've got here. And you can see we've got nice foiled gold Happy Birthday. So I'm just going to cut this down. I was going to have this coming off like that, but I actually think that the card's a bit too delicate for that huge sentiment panel, so I'm actually just going to cut around it. So I've actually decided just to add on a little strip of this blue cardstock and pop that sentiment in the middle. And then I'm going to add a little bit more foam tape behind the sentiment. So there's that card completed. And then I'm going to start with the sentiment on the last card. I'm going to use this same Happy Birthday again, but this time I'm going to use it on the shiny gold. I'm going to use black cardstock. And then let's flip this over so the plate is down. And then let's press the timer. Now that's heated up, I can pop it into my die cutting machine. So then I can take this off and have a look. And that's turned out really nicely, really shiny. So I'm going to die cut that with a circle die. So here's my sentiment, and then I've got a black card which is 6 by 6 inches. Then I've got a 5¼ inch square piece of pink cardstock and a 5-inch square piece of black cardstock. And then I've got all these flowers that I have made up. So I'm going to create a pattern on my card with those. So then I'm going to fill in these gaps with these kind of swirly ones. And obviously I know that a lot of people like symmetry, so of course you could make these as symmetrical as you wanted. You could use all of one type in these ones. You could create ones that had the same colours on. Whatever suits your tastes, do it that way. I quite like having a bit of a random mix. I know that's not everyone's taste. So die cutting for these cards took quite a long time, so obviously even though you can die cut a whole bunch in one pass, there's still a lot of die cutting to be done, but I don't mind doing that, and you can kind of like do it while you're watching TV or listening to music or a book or whatever you like to do, and then actually putting the cards together afterwards is pretty quick and simple. So it's quite nice to have a load die cut and then make a ton of cards. So that looks really nice, and then I can just layer up my card. So I've got foam pads on the back of my sentiment, and I can just add that in the middle. And I really love the way that looks. Bringing in my other cards. So I love how vibrant these have come out. Let me know below which is your favourite one. I really hope that you've enjoyed today's cards. If you have, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.